With us entering into the Countdown Cup, the final tournament before playoffs, we get to see who will be entering in to the grand finals with the most momentum, as the Atlanta Reign and the Gladiators take on the Dynasty and the Hunters in the final tournament going into the season before we get to playoffs. I predicted that Atlanta, LA, and Chengdu were getting in, but I actually predicted that Philadelphia would make it in over Seoul, which obviously I'm wrong, as you can see here. And I'm going to make my predictions about this. Just like the past couple tournaments, I expect the East region to kind of take it, but I do think that it's going to be a lot closer than what people are probably going to predict. So the first match for Thursday is Seoul versus Atlanta. I'm going to predict Atlanta to win this, but I am going to make it only a 3-1 because Seoul Dynasty is a very inconsistent team. That's just been how they have been for many years. Basically since season 2, where they're really good in the in qualifications, and they just kind of fall apart right at the knockouts or right before. That kind of loses their opportunities here. But now that they're actually here, we're probably going to see, or actually it would be the other way around actually, but they would always still fall short regardless. But that being said, I see Seoul not doing well here, but it could go the opposite way. We could see Seoul completely dominate this match against the Atlanta Reign. Atlanta definitely going to be playing these Orisa Diva compositions as opposed to Ball Diva, just because it fits their playstyle a lot more. They've still been able to perform with the Pharah compositions as well, but instead of having Wrecking Ball, they're using Orisa. I feel like that's what they're going to use for this entire tournament. Wouldn't surprise me if that is what they do, which could easily cause them to lose the tournament. LA versus Chengdu, easy for Chengdu to win this. It's another team that really isn't using ball that much. Instead relying mostly on the Reinhardt a lot more, as well as the Orisa. But I feel like LA is going to be the team that's going to try to take it to these East region teams with these ball compositions, as opposed to sticking to the North American style that has kind of been dominant here with the Orisa Diva Pharah compositions, as opposed to the ball ones. I will make it a map 5 because I think Gladiators could play a decent ball comp. Muse is a really good tank player. I think that he could do well. But where they're really going to probably fall short is in the damage compartment, because they have Mirror, who is a decent DPS, but not as good as what would be kind of required of these Pharah players right now. He's definitely not a bad Pharah. Neither is but their other DPS is not as good as Pharah either. To my knowledge, I can't think for the life of me who it is. But then you also have Birdring to kind of pick up the pieces on the Sombra, a really good Sombra, as well as being able to pick up heroes like Hanzo and Ashe. But of course, Ashe can't be played, so they'll likely be playing either Widow occasionally or Hanzo or the Sombra. While Mirror would probably be playing Tracer. But regardless, I do still think that the Gladiators are going to lose the match, which would lead us to Seoul and LA. Like I said, giving it to the Gladiators. I am going to give it a 3-1, though. Because, like I said, Seoul not going to do that well, but I don't think they're going to I don't think they're going to go down without a fight. I still think they're going to be able to be a decent competitor to these teams, despite the fact that I don't see them winning either of their matches going into this. Round 2, we get to see Atlanta versus Chengdu. I am going to give it to Chengdu because they're leading this ball composition. That's really what is kind of tearing this Orisa composition apart because they're playing way too passively. That's kind of the game of Orisa is you can't really play aggressive. You can't play brawl. You can't play dive with Orisa, which is what kind of makes this diva composition so unique. As you have your diva, your Pharah, and your Sombra going up, and Orisa sticking in the backline with Zenyatta. It works well for the team, but when you have Wrecking Ball, the rest of the team can kind of deal with the Sombra, Pharah, Mercy, all that, while the Wrecking Ball takes out the Zenyatta, cancels out Orisa's healing or the Sombra's healing, for example, and then picking off Orisa because Orisa can't really do much to Wrecking Ball. And that's kind of what's going to be the falling point to Atlanta in this tournament. Because Chengdu just completely counters that strategy with the Wrecking Ball. The Gladiators in the Rain. I am going to give it to the Rain in a map 5. Going to be a lot of brawl here. The Orisa versus the Reinhardt. Atlanta is really strong with this composition too, and I see them to work it very well. And this is where we're going to be able to see kind of how this tournament would go if Wrecking Ball probably wouldn't have been meta, which would be an easy role for Atlanta through this. I feel that if Ball were to be out of the picture, Atlanta would be a top contender for sure, easily winning this tournament. But here, I don't see that happening. Which leads us to the very final match of the Countdown Cup. Chengdu versus Atlanta, the rematch from the semifinals. Again, I am going to give it to Chengdu, but I am going to make it a 4-2 just for the fact that Atlanta is, again, the Wrecking Ball is what really counters their entire composition, because once that Orisa and Zenyatta fall, then that's your main tank down. That's your entire shield there that the entire team can kind of retreat to and kind of regroup. And then you are losing your Pharah then because Pharah loses her additional healing from the flex support. Then Mercy can go down as well because Pharah Mercy's kind of caught out in the crossfire of everything. Diva will fall because there is nobody to kind of back her up when she's trying to retreat. And your Torbjorn or whatever you're playing, Hanzo or whatever, especially if it's like a Torb or something, Torb will probably be as well with Orisa. So kind of falling there, that's half of the team right there in that group. And that's Atlanta can still probably work around it pretty well. But like I said, I don't see them being able to fully compete with that composition, as well as what would happen if Wrecking Ball wasn't in this composition. Hopefully, with the next patch that's coming into this tournament afterwards, we might even be able to see the resurrection of Roadhog into the meta. Now that he has less ult charge, which could give way to teams to kind of become better in this anti-ball composition that could probably be ran something like a May Roadhog. Maybe even bringing back the Roadhog Sigma composition from Grand Final last year. But that doesn't really seem likely because of Widow's new frailty with her 175 HP. Maybe bringing McCree in instead of the Widowmaker. We could possibly see that happening. Definitely be a lot better of a measure against Wrecking Ball than Widow would be, even with her 200 HP. Maybe even running it as a McCree Pharah composition. Still running that Pharah Mercy, while you have either like a Zenyatta as your flex healer, like it is right now, or something like Brigitte or Ana to back up that Mercy. Or like when the Roadhog will hook the ball, you have Brig to stun, McCree to flash, or Ana to sleep. Definitely with the Roadhog buffs, I'm excited to see if Wrecking Ball can finally be countered here. I think that's probably the main reason why Roadhog got that buff. But that's all that we have to wait and see for that tournament. It might just all be for nothing there, and Ball could just continue to roll over. And we could even see Chengdu or Shanghai win Grand Finals this year, as opposed to the Shock for their three-peat, Dallas for their Cinderella story of being a terrible team and finally actually becoming a dominant threat through the entire year. There's so much for this tournament coming up in the Grand Finals that this could probably be the most interesting and most enjoyable time for Overwatch League since probably opening weekend this year, with the upsets of like Houston beating Shock and that. It's gonna be an exciting tournament, I feel, through the entire 4 weeks, even if it's gonna be like some 3-0s thrown out everywhere. Regardless, it's going to be probably one of my favorite tournaments this year, as is the Countdown Cup, because I really enjoy watching this ball play, as it's a lot of aggression and a lot of just out of nowhere kills that can come, and that's why I personally love to watch and play the dive compositions, because there's so much that can happen if one person's out of position. The team can just kind of leech on that and start a snowball effect, and that's kind of what has led a lot of these teams to work so well with this ball composition, as well as these teams being completely neutered by this ball composition, because a lot of teams are playing, kind of spread out, and then you have Ball who comes in, slams down, takes them out, and snowballs the entire team out. But now with changes coming in, that can completely change, or it could even stay the same. Regardless, a composition like this is interesting to watch because of that, because we could see these teams like Vancouver who just kind of come out of nowhere and can divide and conquer a team and snowball that entire game into their favor. And that's what probably makes the dive composition such a great composition to play, as opposed to something like Goats or Double Shield, where everyone is in one tight little unit, and the only way to win a fight is if everyone dies at the same time, because you're not going to kill one and then snowball. You got to kill all 6 at one point, or it's never going to end in a fight. But that's all I got for this bracket. I'm excited for this tournament to start Thursday. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. And we get to hopefully see some new cam shots from the Watchpoint desk as we enter into this tournament.